が僕を愛すること生だし応じてもいいかどこへ向かう旅だとしても
Hello, everyone. This is your always tactful host, Pendy.
And this is Paul, also known as EastX Twitch. What you doing over there?
Well, I've been inspired by Psaro Banesword's return to Tact, and I'm trying to see if I can perfect his secret of evolution.
Don't you just mean Psaro? They may have used the name Banesword in Stars, but they dropped it for Tact.
True, but he will always be Psaro Banesword in my heart. I even renamed him that way in my game.
I guess even somebody like Psaro has fanboys. And isn't messing with the secret of evolution incredibly dangerous?
Nah, I got this. I got the recipe from a nice man off Craigslist. Totally legit. Here, hold this.
Drinking from strange bottles. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay, I'll take that back from you. Mix this together. There, bottoms up.
I don't think that worked out the way you thought it would. All I did was turn you into a crocodile-like monster.
Oh, I think you're right. This is not what I was going for at all. I do not want to command the Furfang Legion. I am no Beast King. Ugh.
You know, I actually think it's an improvement.
Ugh.
But while you figure that out, I'll go ahead and welcome our audience to Tactfully Dai, a Slime Time podcast spin-off that covers just about everything in the world of Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, and Dragon Quest Tact for mobile.
That's right. Sorry. There we go. That's right. We'll discuss the latest and greatest with Dragon Quest Tact first.
Good. I'd love to talk some Tact.
Happy belated Dragon Quest Day! How did your pulls go? From the tickets, I was able to pull a Bones of Baramos, a Demon King, Orgodimer, a Splutterfly, and various dupes. How about you? How'd your pulls go?
Well, I bought the big package they offered in the shop so that I could do the maximum number of pulls, and I also did the paid pulls.
Ooh.
So having done that, I maxed out Nira, which is neat. I got Seraphy up to 4 hearts. You know, I awakened several others. And as far as new units go, I got Vera, the Beast Lady, and Gem Slime, which I had really been wanting. But I did not get Terry.
I don't have him yet either.
That's too bad. You know, I pulled on the banner that gives him, and it just didn't work out. But alongside the anniversary banners came the humanoid Psaro banner.
Yes.
I got him, and that's good, but it took me a paid pull and 8 gem 10 pulls to get there, which is still kind of a lot. And I've only gotten the one compared to everybody else who got like 12 awakenings. But I did max out the A rank unit, Rose Garden.
Yeah, it was funny. I mentioned last episode we probably wouldn't get him until July, right? Well, we got him a lot earlier than was expected, which, you know, I'm not complaining about. I was all prepared to go and get him and go all out, but then I got really lucky. I started with the paid gem pull, and I just got him right away.
Yeah.
So with the regular pulls that I did afterwards, I was able to get 2 dupes after that. I already have him maxed out. I have plus 10 on all his abilities except Grease Lightning at plus 9. I had some gems left over, so I went over and I got Veronica as well, which wasn't sure if I was going to get her in the beginning, but now that I have, I'm so thankful I did. She is such a kick-ass mage. I was stalled at S6 with Psaro. I needed one more crystal to get him to S7, and I kept doing those stages where you can, you know, sometimes get one of the crystals. But then I realized I could just get it from the Mega Boss Battle exchange shop. So now he's S7 and level 120 as well. I also went ahead and, just like you, I got the Super Dragon Quest Day set that they had 3 iridescent orbs among many other resources. I mean, it was kind of expensive, but I think it had a decent value to it.
Yeah, it's probably the best value in one of those large packages that we've had so far. So besides pulling great things and gotten some new units, which of course we would then go on to use in the arena. This week's arena is cooler than usual because you can win really good prizes. You can win irises, gold, and if you come in at the top rank, you get an iridescent orb, which is amazing. The only bad thing for me is that whenever we have one of these like anything goes kind of arenas, I always end up facing units that I can't handle all that well. And yeah, yesterday I lost a battle, so getting that iridescent orb is by no means guaranteed for me.
I'm doing pretty great now. The special, basically the Arena Week this week is the special Dragon Quest Day Arena Week. Like you said, lots of great prizes to go for. And I think we're halfway through it now, I want to say. And I'm actually doing really well. I'm still perfect. I'm ranked number 1 right now because I haven't lost any points in any of my battles. We'll see how long that lasts. Thank you. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't know. So far, I'm using a team of Psaro Banesword, Nock, King She Slime, and Vera. However, I had the worst week ever before that, like absolutely awful. The physical layout of the arena was terrible for my usual speed team, especially my King She Slime. Couldn't really, with that setup, I couldn't really hit a lot of people at once. And so I ended up actually settling on an ice team with Santa Alina with a lead. And I thought that would be good because it's crack week. You know, crack potency was up 40%, and Santa Alina's leadership ability makes all enemies' crack weakness go up about 25%.
Wow.
And I coupled this with Dimensional Dragon, Claria, Great Dragon, and Boreal Serpent, all crack-based enemies or characters. But I lost so many times. I only made it up to Master Level 3, and that never happens. I always make it up to 1 at least. So, moral of the story, crack is whack.
Well, I'm no expert, especially since I lose every now and then, but I think that having too much of one element isn't necessarily good. You know, like you want a couple to take advantage of it, but more than that probably will expose you to, you'll have units who are resistant to it or whatever, and it'll actually make things harder. Yeah,
and it depends on like who you pick from the choices that you're given, so you can usually kind of avoid that. But I could have, with the characters that I had, some of them had different elements. So, like, for example, the Dimensional Dragon does crack and does boom. So that helps. But not all of them are like that. Like, if Ice Dragon runs into someone who's very ice resistant, then it's screwed. It has no other type of attack. So my team did have weaknesses like that. I just could not put together a good team. I probably should have tried to do like a week-to-week thing that I used to do where I would just try and focus in on weaknesses or have strengths for my team that they couldn't take advantage of. But it was just so bad. I was just horrible that week. It was horrible. It was bad.
That's too bad. But this week is the one that matters, so it's good that you're doing better now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of fighting opponents, the first guild tournament in Dragon Quest Tact has just ended. The way the guild tournament worked is basically that you would need a certain number of members of each guild to sign up to participate in it. Then there was like a prep time, and eventually you would get matched against another guild. And basically one day, everybody from one guild would fight everybody from another guild. And then the next day you do it against a different guild. Then there would be an off day in between. And then it just repeated like that so that you went through maybe a maximum of 8 battles, I think. But so that was interesting, and none of us quite knew how it worked in advance, right? But it still worked out pretty well for my guilds. Aces 1, which is the one I'm in, got 3rd place in the platinum bracket. So only two groups did better than us. That's not bad. And we also finished at rank 15 for the month, which is the best that we've done so far. So I'm pretty proud of that. Then Aces 3, which is our more casual guild, came in only 1 place behind us, which is really cool. But Aces 2, which is the like mid-level guild, actually did worse than 1 or 3, which is funny. And you guys?
Well, the guild I'm in was on the struggle bus. Well, first, we didn't realize that the defense team we established is not the same as the attacking team that you're going to use. And, of course, with attacking teams, you can vary it from battle to battle. Then we lost all of our qualifying matches. That put us in the bottom league. I thought, no problem. Maybe we can dominate there. Nope. The first round, we only lost by a little, which was unfortunate. We had 3 more people left to play. We had 2 of them in our Discord and got them to do their matches. But then there's this last guy that was left over that was one of our randos, someone that wasn't in the Discord that none of us knew. And unfortunately, this person hadn't logged in for 5 days at that point. So we lost that match. And, of course, we ended up booting the guy that disappeared at the end of the month. Got rid of him. We finally won our next match, the next round, and we won the rest of our matches in the final tournament and ended up getting 2nd place in that bottom league. We'll definitely need some adjustments for next time we do this. Just a little bit.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of the problems that we have when it comes to guilds and tact. One is that people will quit and then it can screw you over if they do it, say, during a tournament. And yeah, one guy in Aces 1 quit during the tournament. So that held us up a little, but it could have been worse. But then the other thing is just the fact that only some people are going to be in your Discord and not everybody unless you're super strict. And yeah, we haven't accomplished getting everyone in there yet. But even once you get them to join, then you need them to check back and actually be communicative, which is apparently a big ask sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's time for our tip of the day. But before we get to that, I noticed you saw an interesting post on the Dragon Quest Tact Reddit page.
Yes. So someone posted they were worried about the speed of the content coming out. We'd actually addressed that ourselves in the last episode.
So we did.
We did. Recently, we had the Christmas, Halloween, Dai, and DQ11 events all running at once. There was a great response from the Tact community manager about that.
And what did he say? Are we slowly gearing up to catch up with Japan?
Nope, not at all. Some people had theorized that, but he specifically stated the global Tact team has no plans to catch up with the Japanese content. We will always be somewhat behind. Personally, I don't mind that. I like to see what they got in Japan first, and by the time the content gets to us, then we know what characters are any good by that time.
You know, I'd have to read over just what he said to really formulate my opinion. But, I mean, it's obvious that we're moving at an accelerated pace that does catch us up somewhat compared to how we started out. So if they just flatly denied it, then I'd say, well, obviously that's not quite the case. But like you said, we're going to end up where we're at least a little bit behind Japan, just not as much, right? And as you mentioned, that actually benefits us because, yes, we can look at the resources they've created and see, what they thought of things. So I do like that. Ideally, I would guess maybe like 2 months behind would be a really good sweet spot, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, they even went on to say the team is aware that the last series events may have caused some burnout and overstretching of resources, and they have taken that feedback into account for working out the schedule going forward. So that was good to see. The community manager stressed that he will continue to provide the Tact team community feedback from what he sees on Reddit, Facebook, Discord, and other similar platforms. So don't be afraid to put your opinion out there about using when using various social media sites that when it comes to Tact. We are being listened to as a community, which was nice to see, especially being a Dragon Quest fan.
Gee, maybe we should get that guy in our Tact Facebook group, which is honestly the main place on Facebook that people communicate about Tact. So I don't know how hard they're listening if he hasn't joined the group, which I don't think he has.
Honestly, I don't know if he has or not. I didn't. That'd be something maybe we can get him on Reddit and see if he is part of that group, because he did mention Facebook, so someone must be looking, maybe.
Yeah, but they're probably talking about just the reactions to the game's Facebook posts,
like their official Facebook.
Yeah, and people barely even comment on those in the first place. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll look him up. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, it's time for the Tact Tip of the Day.
Tip of the Day.
Did you know that YouTube is a fantastic source of strategy for the harder stages in Tact?
That's right, tacticians. You can often find multiple videos using a variety of character setups to take on those nasty, difficult missions in Tact, including those EX stages.
There are some regulars out there that consistently put out good videos, like Nocturne, Eye in the Sky, Tuki Bankai, whoever that is, and Dragon Quest Tactics News and Guides. They don't always use the same strategy. In fact, they often don't. So if one guide uses a character that you don't have, try out the others to see if they would match your team.
That is amazing. They sure have helped me out in the past. That was our Tact Tip of the Day. Tip of the Day. Now let's get into some more Dai.
Every week, we're going to review 2 episodes from the newest Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai anime.
In the future, we will always do reviews of the manga, upcoming Dai console news, and maybe even a little bit about the merchandise as well.
However, neither of us plays the mobile game, because we're busy.
Sometimes. So the first episode that we're going to go into is episode 5, The Insignia of Avon. So in this episode, after taking a powerful attack to defend his disciples, Avon makes the ultimate sacrifice by using his powerful Magante spell to sacrifice himself to try and take Hadler out.
Very dramatic.
Indeed. So in this episode, I loved seeing the Dragon Quest reference and the use of Kaklang. Avon used it here on someone else Avon used it on the rest of the people that were in the fight to protect them from what he's about to do.
And I think that spell in Japan is called Astron, if I remember right.
Hmm.
So that I just thought that was an interesting name. Obviously, all their spells have different names, except for Megante, which is the same.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting how sometimes in anime it can get ridiculous, how the protagonists will have time to have emotional moments with each other while, with the other characters, while the antagonist just presumably kind of sits there. In this case, Yvonne actually glances at Hadler, who gives him an approving nod to say his goodbyes. So I thought that was cool. It kind of goes in line with how honorable of a fighter he will continue to be in one-on-one matchups in the future.
And funny that you mentioned that, because in the original anime, Yvonne actually asks Hadlar directly to show him some patience, and then Hadlar agrees. Then Yvonne goes about saying his goodbyes, and he individually says goodbye to everybody, including Gome-chan and Brass. And finally, he walks over, and Hadlar complains a little bit, but he thanks him for his patience. So that was really neat. Both versions, it's cool to see them acknowledge that, by the way, we're taking a little time out to talk here.
Yeah, and in those goodbyes, he gives out his special insignia of Yvonne to Dai and to Pop, and those will become very important later on in the series.
Oh, yeah, and a little extra thing about giving out the insignias. And yes, those insignias are really cool and meaningful. But, as he's doing that in the classic anime, both of the boys are crying, and I think they cry in the new one as well, because they know Yvonne's going to go sacrifice himself. But they're crying, and Yvonne makes a little joke. He's like, I know it's great that I'm giving you these insignias, but you don't have to cry over it. You still need to work hard to become real heroes. Just a cute little touch there. He knows what they're really crying about, but
yeah, it was a good deflection. It was nice.
Exactly.
And something else I noticed from being caught up from what's airing in Japan, they seem to really like these big dramatic uppercuts, like the one that Hadler lands on Yvonne, or the one that Dai lands on Hadler later in the episode. You'll see that from time to time as the series goes on. I guess the creator of the manga is a big boxing fan, or maybe Mortal Kombat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never taken an uppercut, but it's got to hurt.
Yeah. Oh, the Megante that Yvonne does, very cool. And I like how he kind of hesitates for a second, thinking about a particular woman that they show in a little flashback, because I think it was a Hadler says oh, what about the people that you love, or something like that. And that's when he has a little flashback. But I will never not be grossed out by Yvonne sticking his fingers in Hadler's head. It always grosses me out so much.
Yeah, that woman is interesting, because I don't think it actually showed her in the classic anime, so it's a little bit of extra foreshadowing, or who knows where she's from.
Oh yeah, it's foreshadowing. They'll reveal who she is later. I won't say, but yeah, they will.
That's good. Yeah, and Pendy knows that because he's a little bit farther in the new series than I am.
But yeah, it's the so the Megante spell, like we were talking about before, how they kept that name as opposed to using one of the more modern translations that they use in the Dragon Quest games these days. It's known as Kamikaze in the Dragon Quest games. And so for whatever reason, they decided to go with that Romanji literal translation of Megante instead of using that established Western translation that they use for so many other spells in the show. So I thought that was cool. And I like the sound of it better. Megante. It sounds cool. Yeah,
Megante is just a good name, but quite an interesting choice not to go with an official translation, since they usually do.
Yeah, even when they were doing Your Story, Your Story, they would still stick with the Western translations to the point of annoyance, because I remember there's who's the blue-haired wife? Is it Nera? Her name's Nera, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So in Japan, she's named Flora. So it's great for the dub that they use the new translation. They say Nera instead of Flora. That's fine. But when but even with the subtitles, they still use the modern translation. But you can clearly hear the characters say Flora, Flora, Flora when it's really Nera. But it's whatever.
Yep, that's the thing that happens.
Yeah. But I love the moment where Hadler rushes Dai, and he lands that perfect gut punch right as Hadler reaches him before he can do anything. The way that it's drawn with Hadler's expression really reminded me of the Punch-Out games, where you would land a similar hit during enemies that charge at you, and they would get knocked down with a very similar surprised expression. The Punch-Out character, Bald Bull, was particularly famous for that timing you could pull off when you tried to rush you.
Yeah, it is a really nice dramatic blow.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We also learn a little bit about Dai's crest, the one that appears on his forehead, as Hadler recognized it as a dragon crest from a Dragon Knight, and which we'll learn about later in the series.
Yeah, I guess this is the first time they actually mention Dragon Knights, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And then also in the fight, later on in the fight, so Hadler kind of produces these X-Men Wolverine-like claws in the middle of it. He's kind of like a mage that can fight like a monk class, and I really like that mixture of abilities. It's actually very similar to Rab from Dragon Quest XI, except Rab is a sage as opposed to a mage.
Good observation.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I just like that mixture of like a monk that can cast very powerful spells, or I guess you could look at either way, or as someone that has very powerful spells that can also fight like a monk. But it's cool. I like his fighting style.
Indeed.
So the pose of Dai that they do with the green dragon in the background, I thought that was very cool. I like how they juxtapose the two images together.
And that's when they're making the Dragon Crest observation?
It's like it's after he has made the observation. So like it's already been established like, oh, he's a Dragon Knight. So that's when they do that shot later on in the fight. I don't think it was too much time afterwards.
I see.
And they do it in the original anime too, except it's more of a cloudy, face of a dragon. It's a little bit more. It's not as dramatic as the one that they use in the new anime.
Yeah, it's harder to see for sure.
And so the fight ends with a very nice Avon Strash that Dai is able to pull out, and this defeats Hadler. And I thought it was amusing how Hadler is like, he's lost like both his arms. They both got cut off by the Avon Strash, and he pulls out this Wing of Wervin to zoom away after losing. I was not expecting that type of Dragon Quest item to show up there when I was first watching the show, and I thought that was really cool to see that item pop up.
Aren't they called Chimera Wings nowadays?
Oh, it might be. Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, I always love it when Dragon Quest items like that show up.
Yeah, you mentioned him getting his arms cut off. Actually, in the newer show, I don't think he actually loses his hands at all, does he? I really think
he does.
Does he?
Yeah, because he spends when they go cut back to him, he's regenerating his arms that he lost in the new one too.
Yeah, that's interesting because the way I remember it, like his hands were bloody but not actually off, and even when they're regenerating, they just look like they're just kind of bloody hands, right? But in the classic anime, his hands are definitely off, which is well shown by the fact that when it shows him regenerating, they're just not there, and then they kind of grow back like rapidly, but it looks like when Deadpool's regenerating limbs in the Deadpool movies.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually more grotesque in the classic anime.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then at the end, we get like this nice overview of a lot of the Dragon Quest monsters as Hadler kind of addresses his minions. They threw in a lot of Dragon Quest monsters that have been created since the manga ended. So there's a much bigger variety shown than what they had in the original manga and anime, which was nice.
I really like that part. And also in the classic series, I think this differs. In the classic series, when he's addressing them, he actually names the 6 legions. Did he do that at that point in the newer series?
No, because in the next episode, that's when I've got a note about how they actually do it differently.
Yeah. Okay. So curious difference there.
Yeah.
The same episode, by the way, doesn't it end with Pop crying? Yeah. That episode, they've won and everybody's happy, but Pop in particular is really affected by the loss of Avon.
Yes.
And, he bends down crying and everybody understands. But I noticed in the old series, the crying goes on for longer and it shows several flashbacks of things we've seen with Avon in the show, because I guess they can afford to reiterate points like that by using more flashbacks.
Yeah, because they do like a flashback of like how Avon like recruited Pop and the troubles that he was going through in his younger life, and they'll also go into it in the new anime in later episodes. But they do it. They also do a flashback here in the old anime.
Yeah, and seeing that was a big difference. Like seeing Pop get recruited and how that happened so early in the show, that was really cool because I'd always wondered. Now then, let's talk about episode 6, Crocodile the Beast King. So in the episode, Dai and Pop, that's right, they're wandering in the forest looking for the castle of Romos. They rescue a little girl. They meet Mom for the first time, but then they leave Mom and they end up encountering Crocodile.
Yeah, and Crocodile is one of your favorite Dai characters, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, that's right. So he starts out as a bad guy, but you can tell he's quite honorable to begin with, and that's communicated even now. And everything about him is interesting. Like he's a cool design. He has cool moves and powers that you might not expect him to have. His axe is very memorable. What a great character.
Yeah. And I thought it was also interesting, speaking of design, how in the old anime, the little girl that's lost in the woods gets attacked by a tree face, in some off-brand version of a werewolf. It's dressed like a werewolf, but has a more realistic-looking wolf head. In the new anime, they keep the tree face and use a Toriyama-style werewolf that looks more like the one from the games.
Yeah, slightly different design there. When Dai and Pop are lost in the forest, in the new anime, Pop complains to Dai about it, right? But in the old anime, we actually find out that Dai had a map that was made for him by a chimera who observed it by flying over the land.
Oh,
so
yeah, I forgot
the
about
map
that.
wasn't very accurate for navigating through the trees on the ground.
Yeah, and I think in the new anime they just emphasize that the forest is kind of a maze and easily lost because it's got an evil aura or something like that. I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah, and then, of course, we have the introduction of Mam. I love her magic canister weapon. I thought that was a nice invention of the show and a different way to showcase various Dragon Quest spells.
Definitely. She's a cool character, very confident and smart, and she's got the gun, like you said. And speaking of Dragon Quest Tact, which we play, the Mam character in that, she's got some of her abilities, but they're limited by how many canisters she has rather than magic points. So it was cool to see that reflected in the mobile game.
Oh, yeah, they did a good job with kind of matching the abilities to what they could do in the show. I thought that was really nice.
Certainly. And Mom she's just a great character as well. I mean, like so many of these characters, that's what I really love about Dai is the characters, like some of them are lovable and interesting. And of course, later on, she'll pick up some new skills and stuff. But even right at the beginning, she's quite distinct from typical fantasy archetypes.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of archetypes, so I thought it was funny how when Mam approaches them and then Pop is rude and he's like pointing his finger at her and accidentally pokes her and he's like, and then he looks at his finger and he's like, wait, I made a squish sound. He's like, what, squish? What is this? But of course, he touched what he shouldn't have with his pointing, and Pop and Man are not a fan of each other when they first meet after that whole incident.
Yeah, a bit of an opposites attract thing going on there. And it's funny because she just walks right up to him, so he should have been able to tell that she was a girl. But in the classic anime, she's more shadowed, so I guess it should be darker than maybe it comes across in the newer show.
Yeah, and they kind of play it off like how she puts on her goggles right before they approaches him. So I guess maybe that makes her seemingly look more masculine or something, having the goggles on. Making it harder to tell. The whole Batman and Robin thing is like Robin just has a little mask. It's like, I don't know who you are. It's that little mask. No. But yeah, it just again in this episode, Pop once again not showing his best side as he doesn't want to stay overnight in a tiny village as opposed to staying in an opulent castle.
That's true. I think part of that might just be because he's so instantly mad at Mom for getting mad at him or whatever it is that set him off. But yeah, certainly he's a bit of a greedy dude and not the most heroic early on.
And poor Gome-chan, he almost gets shot up by Mam when he first appears. Poor little guy. If only he could say, I'm not a bad slime, he'd be all right.
Yeah, and that's interesting. The way that he first appears is that Mam and the little girl Mina find him in a bag that Dai and Pop have left behind, which explains why they then go to pursue Dai and Pop, even though they've agreed to split up, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in the classic anime, there's actually a scene back on Dermline Island where Gome-chan is asking Grandpa Brass if he can go along with Dai because he doesn't want to separate. But Brass says no because he would be influenced by the same thing that turns monsters bad, right? But then Gome-chan sneaks into a bag anyway, and we even see the bag get loaded onto Dai's boat. So just it's something that you don't need to see to understand, like Gome-chan sneaking along, it just makes sense. Yeah. But still, it's cool just to fill in those blanks sometimes. And also it's worth pointing out that Gome-chan seems to be invulnerable to the Dark King's influence.
Yeah, because I think they pointed out earlier when it started affecting everyone, they show all the monsters, even Brass starting to get affected by it, by Gome-chan for some reason just does not get affected by it at all, and they show that.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Yeah. What I also love in this episode is I love how the show uses their version of an eyelasher, or dark eye as some people might know it, as a spying and communication device for the Dark Army. It's always fun when they use Dragon Quest references in this way for the show. I also noticed that the color scheme, even in the old anime, is that of a Dragon Quest V iPod, a variant of the eyelasher. Now, I did notice that the anime started airing in 91 and 5 came out in 92, so maybe they liked the color scheme in Dai, and they used it for the game.
Could be. And yeah, those spies are creepy looking for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah. I remember, I think they show up in Dragon Quest II, and they're so creepy looking in Dragon Quest II. They're probably one of the creepier monsters in that game.
Huh.
So we also learn in the mid-show break that Hadler's claws are called Hell's Claw, something not mentioned in the previous episode. So I thought that was a nice little cool tidbit of info that wasn't in the show. I don't know if maybe in the manga they spelled that out, but not in the new anime.
Could be. We also learn of Pop's very immature version of what he'd like to see in a woman. This happens when he and Dai have separated from Mom, and they haven't encountered Crocodile yet. But anyway, he explains that he wants a woman who is rich and will do whatever he says, etc. And Dai calls him out for it.
Yep. He's just he's not the best person in the world, and they really showcase that in this episode. For sure. Yeah,
and yet he's also not the worst either. Like he really grieved for Ava and really cared, So he's got his good and bad points. But, setting up those bad points mean that there is room for the character to grow. And that's certainly different from a lot of American storytelling.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Crocodile, as we alluded to before, is introduced in this episode. I really liked how they cleaned up his design in the series. In the old anime, he kind of looked a little goofy at times with his design and animation. But in this new anime, he looks a lot more intimidating.
Yes, he's really cool. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Hadlar is light green in the new anime, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and in the old anime, he's actually more of a turquoise blue. So I just thought that was different, how such an important character could be interpreted with different colors like that.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, they also, we had talked about it a little bit before, but they make an interesting choice for explaining the 6 legions of the Dark Army. As you pointed out, in the old anime, Hadler kind of talks to himself about it in the new anime while he's like addressing the legions. But in the new anime, Crocodile explains it to Pop and Dai as he introduces himself as one of those legion commanders. I think it makes a little more sense than Hadler kind of explaining his own army to himself. So I understand the change of why they did that in this case.
Yeah, it's more natural and less obviously expository.
Yes. And, speaking of exposition, I love how Dai's internal monologue to himself in a certain scene when he says, "But you didn't do anything," when Pop tries to act tough in front of Crocodile saying how they had defeated this and done that. And Pop is just there thinking to himself, "But you didn't do anything, dude."
Dai is thinking that, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because our friends can often see the flaws in us that we don't even admit to ourselves.
Oh, yeah. And another bit of dialogue that I loved a lot. "You couldn't kill a slime with this spell," said by Crocodile. Anytime they incorporate DQ terms like that in their speech, it's wonderful. He's saying a spell couldn't even kill a slime. It's great.
Yeah, that's some good boasting. So Crocodile's axe is a weapon that can cast spells, which apparently is a staple for the Dragon Quest series, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because there's so many weapons. When did they start doing that? Did they have any weapons in one that could cast spells?
It's probably 3, maybe.
Yeah, it's 2 or 3. I think two can, because doesn't I think there's like that sword that you find in the cave to Romos. Isn't that the
if you use it as an item, then it casts a spell?
Yeah, exactly. So they started doing that what do you call it? That mechanic in 2, and it became a staple of the series ever since then. So I thought that was really cool how they incorporated that into this show and this manga.
Yes, and in the anime they specifically said that, didn't I hear that legendary weapons can do that or something like that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and also, later on, it's funny how Mam takes out the this Infanticore that shows up that chases down Pop. She's got this really heavy rod weapon of hers that was great. She smacks it real good right in the face. And also, I noticed that the Infanticore has more of a realistic lion head design in the old anime and the manga, but in the new anime, they, just like with the Bewerewolf, they make it more. They make it look more like the Toriyama-styled one from the games. They seem to do this a lot in the new anime, where they'll take the Dragon Quest monsters and make them more on model with what you would see in the game series than what they did in the past.
The more on model, the better.
Yeah, and through her necklace, we learn that Mam is also a disciple of Yvonne, though Pop gets a little too close in noticing this and gets smacked by her again.
Yeah, the show is not too proud to take advantage of every little opportunity for sexual tension.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Dai and Crocodile are fighting, Dai gets paralyzed by Crocodile's secret heat breath. He's about to deliver a fatal blow, Crocodile is, But then Pop and Mom show up. Mom takes out her magic gun, aims it at Dai instead of Crocodile, which freaks Pop out, and then she fires a blast of magic at Dai, much to Pop's horror, and that's where the episode ends.
Yeah, it's like, what did she fire at Dai? Was she an enemy all along? I guess we'll find out next episode. Same Dai time, same Dai channel.
At this point, what was covered in 11 episodes of the original anime has been covered by 6 episodes of the new anime. It moves along at a nice, brisk pace.
Yeah, they're moving right along with the new one, that's for sure. So now I was hoping to talk about the Dragon Crest box set of the new Adventure of Dai books here, but I'm still reviewing them. So next episode I'll do a small review about those as I look into them more. I also put in a pre-order for the Crocodile Metal Monster series by coincidence. They're going to do him and also an advanced version of Hadler, but I really like the look of the Crocodile figure in particular, so I put in an order for the Crocodile figure. And in place of the box set review, I have a surprise for our co-host.
Uh-oh, what is it?
That's right, it's time for everyone's favorite Slime Time game show, Mary Thwack Puff Puff.
I approve of one or two of those things.
Okay, for this one, we are going tact-themed. Are you ready?
That's my secret. I'm always ready.
Good, good, good. For this one, we are going to go with Santa Cristalinda, Spooky Valencia, or Party Animal Giuliante. What are your choices?
Well, I can't decide between my favorite waifus. I'm just going to order 3 Puff Puffs.
It's the man of culture. I got it. I got you. So for me, I would thwack Giuliante. I think most of my party days are behind me, and she smokes, and I don't need that in my life anymore, so no thank you. Cristalinda really puts the ho-ho-ho in the holiday spirit, so I'd go with a puff puff there, and I will marry Spooky Valencia so she could bake me all those tasty treats.
Well, that's all for this episode of Slime Time Tactfully Die. If you want to prepare for the next episode, be sure to watch episodes 7 and 8 of the Adventure of Dai anime on Crunchyroll.
We don't use Patreon. If you do have any money that is just completely strashing in your wallet, pouch, bottomless bag, treasure chest, pot, barrel, safe, or even searchable wall sack, and you would like to donate anything to a website that's been supporting Dragon Quest fans for over 20 years, stop by the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den and click on Support This Site. Woodus has owned and maintained the Dragon's Den fan site for decades. He personally edits every YouTube version of our podcast, and he fully appreciates any donations to help keep the servers running.
The Dragon's Den website also features an Amazon affiliate link. If you click the link and then make a purchase, a small fraction of the sale will go to support the Den. It doesn't cost you anything, and even if you try to give me money, I'm not going to take it, so don't even try.
As part of the Slime Time Extended Universe, or STU, you can direct comments or questions for the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at DQ Slimetime.
And you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/EastXTwitch. Come watch me play a variety of games every Saturday, kids. Getting back to Dragon Quest, consider joining in tons of Dragon Quest discussions at the Dragon's Den forums, one of the few remaining forums still around. Find it from the Dragon's Den main page or at woodus.com/forums. You can also find us and other rabid Dragon Quest fans through the Dragon Questers and Dragon Quest Tact global Facebook groups. We'd love to see you there.
Or come hang out with us and tons of other hardcore Dragon Quest fans on the officially unofficial Dragon's Den Discord server.
We'd like to thank everyone that made this episode possible, including Pendy, Woodus, the Dragon's Den, and Tom Cruise. Tell Xenu to spare us all, will you, Tom?
And a special thanks to Platty for helping me out with our rotating podcast logo.
Please like, subscribe, and write a review for the podcast.
For more Dragon Quest Slime Time, check out our library of episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, Audible, YouTube, and more.
Goodbye, everybody. And remember, don't hate, appreciate.
Time to zoom on out of here.